Winter, spring, summer, fall, seasons change, we still keep it together.
Hey, Beverly Hills 90210 fans! Are you ready to dive deep, episode by episode, storyline by storyline, character by character, as we break down the making of your favorite zip code with your hosts, Charles Rosen.
Did I say that?
Harry
This
Mullen.
heinous thing about the real person, and we're going, what? We're getting rid of this guy.
Pete Ferrero.
I'm feeling wonderful. Kathleen looks TV crush-worthy.
Like so many special guests. And all your questions. Live on the Beverly Hills 90210 show. Oh, yeah.
Everybody dance now.
Okay, this is welcome to the Beverly Hills 90210 show, our first show after America's Zip Code. Wow, what a week, right, Larry? I mean, Vince,
Great.
and here, what did you think of your creation?
I was so many amazing stories. I mean, we hope people go and check this stuff out on YouTube because it's just such a diverse amount of fans and how much it meant to them. And, especially, I mean, there was one, who was a foster child and went to different foster homes. And the only thing consistent in her life was the show and they were her friends. I mean, so that's just a range of stories. You really hear about everything in America, and we feel good. We're united in the zip code.
Always.
Yes.
Charles, as somebody, we're going to talk about the Super Show. This is the secrets of the Super Show that we are covering this week. We then after the Super Show did Planet 90210 and now America's Zip Code and a Christmas party. It's fun, man, right? Did you think we'd be doing all these things? What would you think of America's Zip Code last week?
It's a very special episode.
It was for sweeps. It was for sweeps.
Yeah, the sweeps episodes. Yeah. Well, they just break them up. I mean, a deep dive, you got to have a lot of oxygen in the tank. But for a special show, all you really need is a 6-pack and the commitment.
It was an 8-pack for you, Chuck. It was an 8-pack for you.
Yeah, that was more than 6, right?
Watching Chuck get drunk by the end of the show was worth that. So make sure when you
I had
watch the
6
show, you
beers
see the end.
and a shot of whiskey and a glass of water for our friend Diane Kennedy. That was.
Chuck, everyone's having some fun about something. Yesterday on our Patreon, we talked to Surfer Betty or Surf Betty, and I'm going to show you a clip of something that happened during the Patreon that people think is very classic Charles Rosen.
Very good. Well, I'm so happy we get a chance to talk because I know that even if I am mobile as we're talking,
You're good.
Because one of the things that was you.
I love that.
You were driving and blew the horn at somebody while talking to Surf Betty, and everybody loves this very much.
I love that.
Do the people who love it so much live and drive in Los Angeles?
You missed it, Larry, but he blew the horn at somebody while driving. Do you recall?
No, that's such bad taste, Chuck.
Well, no. Show it to him again. It was a little beep. It wasn't.
It was a little beep. Here, watch this.
A little beep is a nudge. No,
Watch this, Larry.
nudge.
Let's watch it
Yeah,
again.
very good. Well, I'm so happy we get a chance to talk because I know that even if I am mobile as we're talking,
You're good.
Because one of the things that
Surf Betty brings out the
What?
language.
What? You have to have your priorities. And by the way, this isn't going to be a knock to my friends in the state, but yes, it is. What was I conking at? The worst drivers in Los Angeles are from one state. It's not Arizona. It's not Nevada. Hello, Florida. Where to drive? Jesus.
Hilarious.
I almost made a really bad joke, so I'm not going to do it. But Florida is bad. They are bad drivers. So learn to drive in Venice, please.
It's
We'll get
amazing.
Nestor on that.
Okay.
Let's talk about this. We have I don't even know if we said this, but we have an open casting call for next week. For next week's show, we are looking for people to fill parts for our big story slam on October 27th. So I'm going to let you guys talk about it. What are the parts that we're looking for? Tell me what we need.
Well, we need we have characters. We have 3 different plays, and we have characters in all of them that are not the principals. The first one we called The Fling, written by our friend Maggie, and it was with Brian David Silver as the narrator. And in there, we got a part for a grandpa, a grandma. Donna has a line, as does Jesse Vasquez.
Yeah, Jesse Vasquez.
So we've got 4 parts there. The next one, let me jump to our winner, which was Michelle, and Larry put that one together, and we have in there, we have Iris McKay as a part. So hello, people from England.
Joanna,
looking at you, Joanna.
Yes.
And we also have a big island guy named Bobo. Yeah, and he's
all right.
And so we got him. Most of the characters, though, that've got parts are in the middle one called Lord of the Dance, which is with Kelly Taylor and our friend Connor, one that wrote that idea. And in that we have Rodney, Jenny's bad date on the night that she meets Connor. We have Cindy, we have Brenda, and we're even going to allow an audition, although we may look for somebody else to actually do it, but we have the audition for Brandon.
Woo.
And we've got sides. Pete's got the sides. He's going to send it to you all. Melanie's got it. People who've been on our show, the Patreons and this, you all getting them whether you want them or not. And we need you guys. Now, how are they going to let us know, do their auditions? Are they going to send us tapes? Are they going to do
No, so I think
how's it going to work, guys?
I think we're going to be doing the audition process. It will be next week, right? That's next week's show.
We're going to do it live?
We're going to do the auditions live.
The open call live. We're the casting room.
We are you've always wondered what it was like when you had to audition for these guys when they would cast a guest star for the show or whatnot. And obviously some parts
we should bring Jessica Klein back for that one because she was the maven in casting. She did spend a lot of time in that area. Yeah. So available. Maybe she'll join us for some of it.
Yeah. So make sure you
should point out though that show business is tough. Okay, not everyone gets a trophy in show business. So,
right.
But we want everyone to be in there, and that's part of the fun of it,
Yeah. Because if you remember on Story Slam, Larry played the expansive producer. Let's get it going, and I played the Dower Network guy.
I agree with that.
Where's the ratings? And so we're gonna, be some of those roles as well when we're doing the auditions.
Well, I will say that Charles has gotten something for it now. So this is next week is the casting call, and then the following week is the big show. Is Story Slam. And I can tell you that Charles has been thinking about the ratings, and he has brought something to the table. As long as it all plays out and it's looking that way, it's going to bring the ratings, right? Would you guys agree with that mystery?
Some parts we're holding back because we have some people that offer the part too.
That's right, which is also used to happen in 90210,
That's right.
Yeah.
Very authentic.
So, all right. So we're going to be I'm going to be sending out an email today to all the people that were on America's Zip Code, that all the people that did Planet 90210 and everybody that's on our Patreon, our usual suspects. We would love you guys to audition first. Of course, expanded outside of that, we're also welcoming you to audition for it as well.
Open call.
It is an open call. I do have sides. So if you are interested in that and you're watching this and you want to be on Story Slam and, act in some of the stuff that we're doing, you can always email me at peter@BeverlyHills90210show.com and let me know.
But all those people, you're going to send the slides to, right? The slides too. Yeah. All the Patreon, all
Go ahead, Melanie.
Yeah. And
I was just going to say for people that,
yes,
I was just going to say we should explain what sides are if you don't know what casting sides are.
It's just basically the lines for each character that you're going to be using, that you're going to be auditioning with. And
it's
for the most part, it's literally not just one line or 2 lines. So it's not that much. It's just going to be part of the fun.
Exactly.
And some of them have a much bigger part. Brenda has a much bigger part. We're just not using
like for me. For me, Brenda. How is Melissa not Brenda or Leanne? Right? Like these are people that we know that love. audition for this. We want you on the show. We want you to be our Brenda. So, I mean, if there's somebody out there that thinks that there's a better Brenda,
I mean, maybe I'll audition
You
for
know,
Brenda,
I'm
right?
thinking
You
Chuck
know,
might be,
I
Chuck
can
would be good
embarrass
for the
myself
grandpa.
every week. You guys can too.
should I audition for this thing? Should I?
I'm thinking
Oh,
Chuck
you
should be good
already
for the
embarrass
grandpa.
yourself every week.
Every week I do this. Yeah. Well, every time I talk about Claire this way. Yeah.
But your beanie's looking really nice. I just wanted
Thank
to
you,
point that
Melanie. I
out.
appreciate
You're
that
welcome.
very much.
I
Yes.
like it better than the bald head Pete from the Super Show last year.
I
I like
was-
this
I was
bald
thinking
Pete
the
look
same
better.
thing.
I
but
was
it
a
takes
little
a
taken
woman to
back
say
by
it,
it.
you know.
Yeah, I was taken back by the fact that I had shaved my head during quarantine. That was a very silly move.
Yeah, it's aggressive.
All right, so let's run a show of shop, the shirt stuff, and then we'll come back and we'll start talking about the secrets of the Super Show.
Yeah,
Well. When was the last time you checked out the Beverly Hills 90210 Show shop? Because now it's loaded with so much more stuff. Did you ever want to join the gang at CU? Because now you can wear your official CU t-shirt. Or want to get into the fun with America's zip code? Represent with this cool swag. Or maybe you have an invite to the Peach Pit after dark and need the coolest shirt ever. We have loaded the store with so much more. So don't be a squeeze. Head over to BeverlyHills90210showshop.com for all the latest goods.
Okay, so that's really exciting. Of course, we have this really cool one dancing since the 90s, and we have a Charles Rosen one in there now. I didn't pull that, but it's very exciting.
yeah.
All right, guys, let's jump into the talking about the Super Show that we did a little over a year ago now. The way I remember this coming to be, I had lunch with Melanie. I do remember that you told me that the 30th was coming up. When did
Yes.
we have lunch? Was that in May?
I think it was in
Chuck
May.
wanted to do something really big for the anniversary. That's what I remember. He said, I
but
said we
it
couldn't
was
watch
not-
football that day. It had to be on the Sunday. We had to schedule around the Patriots football, which I appreciated Chuck doing. But we were going to do something big, but we had no idea what it was going to be. He just wanted to make it big.
And what I remember is that we knew that the 30th was coming, but there was no concrete plans. Because if you remember when we started doing the show, it was during the pandemic, and we thought, well, we don't know how long the podcast is really going to be going. You know what I mean? But then we said we wanted Jason Priestley to do an episode of the podcast. And you reached out to Jason, right, Chuck? And that's kind of
to
where
talk about directing, because he really his first professional directing assignments were with us. So
Right.
that's what got him to come on the podcast originally.
And then I believe when we went in and asked him to do that one, we said we would ask him to come back to do another one as well. And then he suggested, do you mean for the 30th? I believe that's sort of how it happened. And then we just kind of rolled that into a giant Super Show. And we were at the time the only place that was really available for such an activity for everybody to come back. But I don't think that we thought that everybody would come on to the show.
That's for damn sure. In fact, I have the opening here that if just real quick, this just says, Dear Jason, but it was clearly written to every person who was on our podcast up to the point of September 14th when I mailed it out en masse. Dear Jason, time flies. It's been 30 years, and we'd like to invite you to exchange an egg, sort of. On October 4th, 2020, from 4 to 7, PDT, Chuck, Larry, Pete, your intrepid producer, will be hosting, your intrepid podcaster will be hosting a Beverly Hills 90210 show live videocast celebrating the 30th anniversary of a series that changed the way the world looked at its zip codes. If you are receiving this email, it's because you have been with us before and know how much fun we have had these past 6 months, taking a second look at the episodes, issues, and personalities that made 90210 the kind of TV show that its fans still talk about and swoon over 30 years later. We're still planning out segments, but one overall thing we'd like to attempt to do is reunite everyone who worked on the show, whether they be part of the cast, the crew, writers, directors, executives, and then some technical stuff.
And so then we started.
That was the cover letter we sent out.
And then the hunt began.
The hunt began. And I remember we reached out to virtually everybody that you can think of. And I had a call with Chuck very early on, and we had heard from nobody. And I picked up the phone. He said, well, this is going to be bad. because at that point, we reached out to Jenny and Tori. They were starting to develop their own podcast. So there was questions about whether they would join us. We couldn't find Jamie Walters. Like, go ahead. Yeah.
Do you know if this podcast inspired that podcast? Is that true, or is that just a rumor?
That's rumor. That's rumor and innuendo. It certainly could have, yeah. But it
you know,
might
the
have
Jamie thing. Take a moment for the Jamie thing, because again, that typifies what we had to do to get Jamie. We, you know, there were no leads. We went through fire departments, we went through friends, and finally we got the casting agent from Vancouver, who had cast the reboot in Vancouver. And
he was really sweet, and he was like, "Okay,
we thank him again."
Yeah, but I think that the first way this happened was by chance. Jessica Shaw had just interviewed Darren Star on her show, and she said, "Are you doing anything to celebrate the 30th?" And Darren was like, "I have no plans." And so when Jessica Shaw told me that, I was like, "Oh, now he has a plan."
Yeah.
And so I told Chuck that, and then you went to work and then lined up Darren.
Well, Darren had also already been on our show. He was on one of the earliest ones, so he'd always be interested in talking about this, subject to his availability.
Right.
But this was a big one, you know, that we've said that October 4th, 1990, we all spent it at Darren's place in West Hollywood. That's where the writers group gathered to watch the episode.
And then at that point, we had Jason and Darren, and we knew we could do the opening with Jason and Darren, and we built around a lot of fan-centric stuff. You know what I mean? We had groups of fans. Our buddy Darren Martin was putting groups together to send in videos, and all of this was kind of happening behind the scenes, you know. And then when the Darren Star thing happened, we were like, well, that could be our opening segment. From what I remember, we should try to get everybody to participate, the main cast anyway, in that opening segment, and that's sort of what launched us reaching back around to Ian, Jenny, Tori, Shannon, Gabby. Gabby was the next to come on board.
Yes, I was going to say she came on early.
And then we had someone working with us on the show at the time, Lily. She was in that. And then I think Gabby said yes, and then they all started to say yes. Right? And Ian was
not all.
That's right.
Not all.
We should point out that we've never been able to have Tiffany Thiessen on the show and give her love that she deserved for the show and the character of Valerie. And we've never been able to have Shannon on, though we were close. Do you want to tell the Shannon story?
What's so fascinating about this is we would do Zooms. At one point, they were becoming daily. Or every couple of days, we were getting on Zooms. I remember the four of us, talking about this show. And it felt like every time we were on a Zoom, like, oh my God, Jamie's in. You know what I mean? Like, we would get an email while we were on together talking about it. And one of the Zooms we were on, because now we had Brian say yes, and then Ian had said yes.
And Gabby.
And Gabby had said yes, and Darren Star had said yes, and obviously Jason had said yes. So we went into Shannon's rep, and we heard nothing. But then all of a sudden, the momentum was building. I guess they knew that this was going to become a thing. This is where the 30th reunion was going to happen. And Shannon's representative messaged us or emailed us and said, essentially, and I'm not going to read what she said, but essentially she could move the dial with Shannon, but she wanted to know who was sponsoring it and what Shannon would be getting paid. Nobody has gotten paid to do this podcast. No guests have gotten paid to do this podcast, but we all agreed it's Shannon fucking Doherty. We'll do this. Then we
didn't offer enough. We didn't offer enough, I guess.
Guess our offer wasn't strong.
We were bidding against ourselves.
That is right. There's a right. You know, when there's symbolic amounts. You know, when you make a donation to something, if you're not really, that's $50. If you really care, $100. If you're a big $250 on a bigger one, that's a symbolic amount. We took it up to $500, and I'm sorry, I was the network. That was the top of the line. We weren't going to pay more than $500 for anybody to come.
There was no breakage.
There was an
That's
opening.
Right. That's right.
Segment.
No sponsor, nothing, you know.
Yeah, and it was an opening segment of a podcast that was celebrating 30 years and the work that they all had done. But we were willing to, because we all, like you said, Larry, you know, she's somebody that we've always wanted on this show. And so I don't know if at that point, that's what sort of triggered the no more responses to our requests. Her representative is very kind and always responds to me and says, no, Shannon won't do this. But we've tried, and that was a moment.
You've even said to her, it'll just be you two. Charles won't be anywhere near there.
I think that's I think that's something that will happen one day, but obviously I want to make note that we know that Shannon was also at the time going through a lot personally. Yeah. And so I'm not by any means, any of us are singling her out for not participating because of that, but it would have been really awesome to have that moment. And I've seen a lot of comments like, oh, it's missing Shannon. Well, obviously we tried.
We did. We even talked about doing something where people would donate and we'd make a donation to a breast cancer organization or something, you know, and that didn't really get any traction either. So I wish we knew what it would take so we could get her.
I will say this. I would love to interview her. I would love to do something with her one day. So I think the world of her, and I know we all do. Why don't we start watching the Super Show here, and then we can start commenting on things that.
And I guess I think it's a good idea. And what I want the people to really look at, two things. A, look how nervous Pete was, and see how far he's come. Because the questions he's become a better questioner than he was on that show. Especially in the first segment, you were really nervous with these stars.
It was nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie. I mean, you're not just interviewing one of them. You're interviewing everybody that's been in the main cast of Beverly Hills 90210. Right. We should also say, Charles, to shout out before we watch this, Randy James, who came close, who really at the end went to bat for us with Jenny and with iHeart, because that was all developing and being announced on the day that we were going to be doing our podcast. But he went to bat for us and said, Jenny needs to do this podcast and be reunited with her castmates. And that moved the dial on Tori as well. But, you know, obviously Tori had so many technical issues, which we'll get to. But someone else has
come a long way when it comes to digital.
yes. She was really sweet, though, and I know that she wanted to do it. All right, let's start watching it. We'll see how much we wind up watching of this.
Wake up. New house, no friends.
I'd like to exchange an egg.
We should note that all of this intro stuff was happening because at the time, Melanie, you were doing a hunt. There's a couple of things that we should acknowledge about what Melanie brought to the Super Show.
Maggie.
There's Maggie, there's Lisa,
Leanne, and
Melissa.
Oh my God. It's been 30
But you were doing a hunt, and also
doesn't matter what
you took.
We had done our locations videos too.
That's what I'm saying. You took us to the locations as well. So there's some of that's in here. I didn't leave all that in.
Well, I'm impressed. This is when you still used to show clips.
You walk away from it right now.
The good old days.
How come it works here and doesn't work for us anymore?
My thought is that when, for some reason, when we're live to all the social media, it seems like the clips don't play, and so I am still struggling on figuring that out. But they'll be back.
It's a bandwidth problem, maybe?
I think it's a bandwidth problem. And also, like right now, it's 1 o'clock. It's only 4 of us on the feed. You know what I mean? Sometimes we've tried to do it when there's a lot of people on. So I think that's
about the real person. And we're going, what? We're getting rid of this guy.
And growing up, my TV crush is Claire Arnold. So I mean, she has to come on this show at this point. Well, that was our old intro, and she did come on at some point.
There are so many we couldn't even listen.
You
So
wore her down.
get ready because it's
And now we're buds.
time for the Beverly Hills 90210 Super Show.
Welcome to paradise, man. Welcome to your dream come true.
And our good friend Kristen is still.
Well, here we are.
They're coming to LA
on the
in May.
Hills 90210.
Well,
Super
tell the
Show.
Darren story about
Hey,
leaving
Chuck,
the studio. We have
What
to
were
tell
you
the
doing
Darren
30
story.
years ago today? Well, okay, I'll hit mute on this. But yeah, I mean, it's so weird because like now we're on the side of us looking at us, so it's really trippy. Thankfully, nobody has smoked anything at this point yet because it would be very confusing. But yeah, no, I mean, well, Darren, the first time he came on, there's a little button when anybody you come on this show that says leave studio. If anyone's having a technical glitch, we just tell them to leave the studio. And right, Darren actually walked out of his.
He walked out of his room there, his
Stood up
office,
and
which was
walked
great.
out, left the building,
Yeah.
studio.
Oh, that was funny.
Love it.
All right, let me turn this back up.
Bakery months ago, probably right before this whole coronavirus hit. And I told the woman behind the counter, because I hadn't been there for so long, I said, you know what? I was here almost 30 years ago. I got a cake for the premiere of Beverly Hills 90210. And I think she was Jane's sister. And she said to me, I was on the show for an episode.
In talking about the pilot, right, Pete? I mean, that's what
Yeah.
we're really doing. I don't, wasn't there, so I'm always, and I'm so happy you're here to talk about it. And you really should talk about it with people who were there, right?
So how about some of these people?
What's that? Jason Priestley. Oh my God.
Darren, here, Darren. Hey, Darren.
How are you? Great to see you. You look awesome.
How about
Brother, you're looking very well.
How about this person?
Jenny. Oh, my God.
This is great to rewatch.
Wow.
Jenny.
I'm getting the
How about this
feels.
person?
What?
This was so
I
good.
didn't cry.
Mind
Wait
blowing.
a minute. How about this person?
I love Gabby.
Oh, no.
Oh,
now
okay.
it starts.
Oh, here's when the tech
Oh,
dip
Ian.
started.
Sorry, Ian.
Wait a second. Ian.
Did you say here's where the tech problems start, Melanie?
Yes, for Tori.
Oh my
clap our
God, I'm
hands
so excited to
Tori.
see everybody. I'm crying.
Same here. I'm not crying though, but
I am.
you're a crier, Gab.
Happy
I know.
anniversary.
And I'm so
Hi,
happy
Jen.
for your new show, Darren.
Oh, thank you.
So
Thank you.
awesome to see you.
By the way, I've not seen you guys, spoken to you guys. For a while, I loved the show you did on Fox. I thought it was brilliant. I thought you guys were so damn good. I mean, I loved it. And I know, like, Chris and Mike so well. They told me they were doing it. I said it sounded like so amazing, and I thought it was like so good. I like gobbled it up.
God.
Hey, Darren, while we have them all here, what was it like working with these? Melanie, why don't you tell us what it was like going through this now? What was your life like? Because Melanie, you were the producer of this.
Yes, I was doing all the virtual backstage shuffling. Actually, I don't think we had the ability to do that at that point, but I was communicating with you to make sure people were in and out when they needed to be. And Tori, we were having problems with. So her agent had given me a call, and conferenced us in together. And we were trying to troubleshoot. We did everything we could. I even called our StreamYard person and we tried, different devices. We tried resetting her Wi-Fi, leaving the studio, coming back in. But it was just Wi-Fi challenges. She just could not get a strong enough connection. And she felt so bad. Our whole conversation was, she's like, I need to be there. Everyone's there. I need to do this. And she just sounded so sad it was happening. I mean, you could tell she just really wanted to be a part of it. And it was so frustrating for me trying to help her,
So, and that was the other interesting thing, because Brian does come on later to the podcast, to the Super Show, but he agreed. He was one of the first to agree to do this. When everybody, and then Ian came after Brian, but he says later on that I think he like messed up the time of what time he was supposed to be there. I mean, the thing with Tori was we really wanted her to be here so badly. Just to the point of what you were talking about before earlier about Charles, about how things developed and has changed. StreamYard actually got better with cell phones. StreamYard itself actually got the platform that we used to let people in. They started to improve. But at this time, using an iPhone to log into StreamYard, it was not an acceptable choice from what I remember. You had to use Chrome.
Yeah, it was Chrome. And you had to sign in through your Facebook or your YouTube account, which caused problems because nobody had their passwords accessible. So then people had to reset their passwords. And finally, we disabled that function.
Yeah, we didn't know that you could disable it.
And also
Yes.
to be able to I worked with Darren later and on another show, which was really fun too.
Yeah.
But Chuck,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Jenny had been on our podcast yet. I don't think any of them had. I mean, Jason and Gabby had definitely done had done episodes of our podcast, but for you, Larry and Charles, you hadn't seen Jenny and Ian in some time. So what was it like for you guys at this point to like be reunited on the 30th year? Start with you, Charles.
Well, I had seen Gabby a lot. Gabby is a personal friend, her and her husband, Charlie. So I at least see her once or twice a year. Ian, I would see because of Darren Martin. Whenever Darren would be here, we went once to the Earth Cafe over in Melrose, the three of us. So I'd seen both of those guys. Jenny, I saw for the night of the memorial gathering at Gabby's house when Luke passed. I hadn't seen her since then. Darren and I would go out to dinner, and Jason and I for years would go to the Apple Pan. But once he moved to the Valley, that was a little less and less, so it's really Larry who hadn't seen these folk.
Well, I had seen them in that. Remember the bus tour? I guess it was about a year before this, actually. The Darren Martin Peach Pit Pals bus tour. I had seen them at the Torrance High performance of Brian's podcast.
Right,
so
Ian and Gabby.
Ian there, and I had seen Ian and Gabby there. Yeah, I hadn't seen Jenny though. It was great. That was just the beginning of just seeing them, and also I hadn't seen Jason either. So it was great fun to see the faces and just see the joy in their faces for seeing each other again and realizing that they had created something pretty special.
Yeah, I will say it's very cool that how cool Jenny and Tori are actually, because even with them having a podcast on another platform, they've done our podcast quite a bit.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think Jenny
Very
has probably done the podcast the most of all the main cast. She's been on our podcast quite a bit. From we did Jenny Garth, we did Kelly and Dylan, we did the Kelly and Tara thing where she just talked with me and you, Larry, and Jessica. Right. So she's done quite a bit for our show, and it's just super awesome that she's so, engaging that way, and Tori as well, And
let's not lose sight of Gabrielle has done a lot too, and especially when she was president of SAG to find the time to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, and she did our news show one time, Melanie, if you remember when something happened with Donald Trump.
Yeah, Donald Trump letter. He resigned from the union. Yeah, that's right. He said
they're very cool that they continue to come by and stop by, and that
Tori looks great.
And don't forget Brian. Brian always checks in. Brian always checks in. It's delightful.
And what I love about Brian's check-ins, they're just so random. There is no rhyme or reason for them. He doesn't even need to be featured on the show. It's just hey, I want to check in today. Okay, and we want to say shout out to Brian. I know Brian and Sharna got voted out of
Dancing with the Stars.
Thank you. So
you still got Brian. I don't care what America says. You still got rhythm. Yes, you do.
He's got the moves like Jagger.
I'm sorry.
Lighting up my phone.
Don't worry, girl.
I'm curious for you guys. Was there a moment during the series when you guys were like, "Oh my God, this is going to be a thing. This show is actually, we're going to make it. This is going to be a thing." Was there a particular moment like that for any of you? Ian, maybe?
I came to the set driving a Acura Integra that had my name on the license plate, but it was spelled EYEAN. And
I remember that.
I can't get people to fucking remember my name properly. It's had to put on a damn license plate. So
that's a great piece of information.
Started to get followed. Oh my God, I'd get finger pointing. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? It became, they associated me, and that was validating what it was. And, that was all in the first year where it started to smolder. But then I think it was at, when Shannon lost her virginity, that spring dance episode. And then
Brenda.
When Brenda. Shannon was much younger.
That was a very important distinction.
Yeah, well, and then the summer episodes we did right after that, it was like a pile driver. It really lit the fuse.
Yeah,
pile driver lit the fuse. It's a mixed metaphor, no? Sorry.
We should note prior to this that Charles wrote a very detailed script that we were all, Charles and I wrote that. I mean, you wrote that, and we used that as,
and we revised it because I was not. The same premise that I said to everybody when we started 90210, which was, I want to make a good show. I don't necessarily have to be a great show. It's just got to be a good show. And the litmus test is don't embarrass me.
That's right.
So that would for spades in this, they could have just blown up and we had Bruce,
but at this point,
we had
But at this point in the broadcast, outside of what was happening with Tori's connection, we were right on target with your script. You were going to ask Darren a question. We were going to bring everybody in. Darren can only be with us for a certain amount of time. Then we removed. It was all the flow was we were rocking it.
I mean, there were about 8 segments or something like that, I think. And we had a whole bunch of stuff, and obviously coming up, including a tribute to Luke. We had a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, we're going to.
I think in some ways that I know that's going to probably be the end of our show here.
Yeah,
but that tribute is still, I think, was the highlight of this, and still really might be one of the best things that ever came out of all of what we've done here for
the podcast for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and then we do eventually here get Tori all situated, and she does hang out with us for a little bit. But I already know that Melanie was really behind the scenes. I remember that I could hear them at one point. They called my cell phone, and I could hear them arguing, not arguing, but the girl from StreamYard was like in just a panic because they could not get her connected to the feed. All right, let's see. All right, so that's this first moment. I'm going to pull up the second one in a moment here, but looking back on doing that segment with everybody, I thought that was really cool.
That was sensational. That got us national news. I mean, look, they had, people got a chance to really enjoy their enjoyment, which is, for the fans was money.
Yeah. Everybody wanted to see them together on this anniversary special, and somehow our little podcast was the place that it happened, and it was very cool. I was going to also note that there were other limitations with StreamYard at the time. I don't mean to be throwing StreamYard under the bus, but there was other limitations with them where there was only a certain amount of people allowed in the room. And so there wasn't even a green room where, like now with Zip Code, we allowed for 2 extra spaces that can hang out in the green room that they don't have to be on. But there was 8 people, right, Larry?
Yep.
So then that removed Lily, you know what I mean, the extra person, because it was like, well, we need to have the room for all these people, and this was going to be happening without. And then we also had a segment, Chuck, at some point with Sandy Grushow, and that got we had a
Sandy and
Danny. It's like a live variety show.
I think we did a pre-record and then put it somewhere else. We did a lot of pre-records, as I remember.
Sherry said you guys did one too. Yeah.
I did one with Christine Pettit. I did one with Christine. I remember.
What's her name? Valerie Wildman.
Yeah, we have that we'll play
later. We also did a thing where we asked certain of our guest stars who had performed on the show, but who had been on the show before, to send in little videos of where their character was today. We have a whole bunch of those wonderful ones.
Yeah, and there'll be one that comes up here. But then we got, then we had the parents pop up.
This is sensational.
Loved this. Ugh.
Yeah,
it was so good. And again, we had Carol Potter come in on our America's Favorite Zip Code, and she too is someone who's come a long way digitally from where she was in today in this show and others.
There
she is.
Looking gorgeous. All right, that was fabulous.
Looking very pixelated. Yeah.
But it was great to finally see them all there together. James is always wonderful, and I think right here Jason's talking about
The Rock was in all
right.
Right? They were the real adults in the room.
Yeah, you guys really were, and and as we've all witnessed these last 4 years, one thing you need is adults in the room.
Hey, Morton Muntz here.
You were talking about.
Just wanted to give you guys a little update on what I'm doing with my life after college. But before we get into that, I have to do this. I've always wanted to do this. Okay, so after college, I took it upon myself to purchase a failing brewing company. I mean, After many drunken
I
nights
gave
at
him
Cave
I gave him
House.
this whole story.
Why wouldn't I? So I'm now
Wait a
a
second,
CEO
this isn't
and
true?
mad brewer.
Yeah.
No,
Keg
this is
stand
fake.
suds.
No, this is
No,
It's doing
I
really
gave him a
well.
little
We're in
scenario.
61 markets across the
He asked
world.
for some help.
61
won a couple
markets.
awards for my IPA called the Madman. It's a little bitter, but
Did you come up with
so
the
sweet.
Did you come up with the beer, Larry, or is this all months?
No, I just gave him the brewer.
I
and he's gonna
literally
marry
have
this other
100
woman.
bottles of beer on the wall inside my house. Literally. My wife isn't happy with it, but it is what it is. On the weekends, I also help her out at her produce stand at the farmer's market. So I guess you could say I'm a part-time produce manager as well. So take care, y'all.
It's a 3-hour show, supposedly. So by the time it's over, Tori, you'll have it down. I got faith.
Yeah.
That's very in line with my character. By 10 season, had it down.
She's so funny.
I mean, honestly, I got to see behind the scenes before it was a thing, so I believed in it. I thought it was going to be great, and I thought the writing was awesome, and the cast were amazing. So, it was in my exact age group. So I was like, this is going to be crazy big, and I didn't know anything else. Everything my dad did was amazing. So, and he got to work with all of you guys. So, I always thought it would be a success. I was actually surprised in the first season when it wasn't, and then it became a huge success.
It was good. It was great that when she finally was able to offer this, because I know I trimmed all this down, and when people go back and rewatch it, she really did give some good interview pieces and segments about like what it was like being on the show, what was like doing Donna stuff. So she was really great, actually, once we did get her on.
Now, did Entertainment Tonight highlight her coming on with the Wi-Fi problems? That was a story that made it right in the news afterwards.
It did.
Yes.
I
remember that.
We had a little run of stories following the Super Show where we were on the radar of like Us Weekly and People, and then Christina Lee said something about Jessica Alba once on our podcast, and that made it to page 6.
And that propelled us to get the today's top 5 culture podcast moments in 2020 or whatever it was.
It was very cool.
Very nice.
Okay, and then look who popped in here, right?
Your parents.
Well, it was really cool because Carol was friendly with Ann Gillespie still after all this
look
time.
at the smiles. I mean, it's just great.
Yeah, and so we just
James, look at James up
look
there.
at James. He's failing. He's failing.
Yeah.
He's not even Jewish.
Yeah, that's very cool. And then
And hey, Carol, she's the one that got me into this. So
she roped you in.
Great to see you, Carol. Ann, great to see you.
yeah, good to see you guys.
Anne, it's been
great.
it was great to see Anne. I don't think I prior to this, and I know that we've interviewed Anne maybe one other time after this, but nobody had seen her in quite a long time. So this was the kind of thing that we realized was starting to happen, Chuck, when we started putting this together. Like nobody had seen Ann Gillespie in a long time. Dan Rubin eventually, Matthew Peretta comes on later on. Nobody had seen him in a long time. We knew we had a lot of guest stars that were agreeing to do this. And we knew that it was getting harder and harder to figure out. It wasn't just the main cast, but it was getting harder and harder to figure out where does everybody fit in to the lineup.
Yes, and we had to also bump Denise Dowse, who had some technical issues. I think she was supposed to come on with some of these adult panels right here.
I think she's supposed to be right here. You're right, man.
Yes,
right
and
here.
I was on the phone with her for a solid 20 minutes trying to help her troubleshoot, and we just couldn't make it happen. And so we ended up having her on afterwards. But
She was on the Christmas show. She was delightful.
Yeah, she was great.
So friendly and nice. What a lovely woman. I love
That's
her.
how I remember her on the set. Oh, and you got Catherine here. Larry, you did that, right?
Yeah. Because she's married to Dean Butler, who I worked with in the New Gidget, and they're kind of protected, but she was just great to have on. And we had her on earlier with a run of stuff, but she came back again for this, and she came back also for the Christmas party.
Yeah.
So God bless her.
It's funny because Catherine was the first one to call me because we were doing that thing where we were trying to get Kathleen to come on the show, Larry, and we would call her out every week. And Catherine was the first to call me out on calling it out. Like it was very Felice Martin, the way she called me out on it too. So I just shared that recently with someone.
What do you mean, Pete?
What do you mean, Pete?
What do you mean?
I never heard this.
Martinez?
What did she do?
She was like, Peter, are you telling me that you have a little thing for Kathleen?
Oh.
I have to find the clip and I'll play it for you guys.
that's cute.
But it was like, oh my God, I've just got reprimanded by Felice Martin. But yeah, that was great. I mean, that was really awesome to have all the parents together. You know, I mean, that was.
I remember Felice came back because she really wanted to reunite with Jamie, which we did on another show.
Yeah.
That was the super deluxe
Christmas party. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We should acknowledge here that we are planning a Christmas party. We are planning another super deluxe Christmas party. We don't know if it's going to be live in person, if it's going to be virtual. We have no idea about what's going to happen, but we are in those stages of planning that event. Well, do you think it will be live, Larry? What do you think?
I think there's a good chance of it. Yeah, we might do the podcast live together. There's no reason why we shouldn't do that.
Exactly.
And
we'll have some
a
fun.
couple of drinks. We can always do it at the beach.
Some eggnog, all that.
Still, although it'll be dark by 5 o'clock. There's that. But
all right, let's keep looking at here now. Back to home base. Chuck and Larry.
We're not doing deep dives today.
People who know how to get up and in and out of SteamYard.
Well, there is a
little
lot
behind
of
schedule, so I hope we're doing that.
Yeah.
Again, this is like a
called me.
telethon.
He's in Malibu. Their power went out.
Oh, boy.
Power's out in Malibu. So I hope
This is-
not
by
many
the way,
people are trying to.
For those
Well, again,
that
this is like
Malibu.
the telethon thing we're doing here. It's
That's
people
true.
are going to come in and
The
out. It's
telethon
not really the
metaphor,
deep dive
yeah.
show.
Right.
We're not going to be asking people to pledge any money. Just love for their respect for the show that's endured.
And we're here at none other than the famous beach house from Beverly Hills
one of the
90210.
locations that Melanie took us
When
to.
we finally convinced Mr. Spelling that we should do a college show,
How much
gave us
fun
the
was that, guys? When we went
opportunity
here, went to the beach house. Again, you guys can watch the Super Show and see what Chuck is saying here. But we
Occidental, that was fun.
We went to Occidental. And then we also went to the studio.
Calvert
Calvert Studios. So
and the Apple Pen.
And the Apple Pen.
Ooh, that lunch was
And
good.
Roxbury Park.
Roxbury Park. That's right.
By the Apple Pen, yeah.
Charles, you had done that before. You had seen a couple of the locations, maybe when the thing that you referred to earlier with Darren Martin, right? And Brian's podcast.
Yeah, we went around in the bus.
Well, we went to Altadena. We saw where you would be living.
Right.
We didn't know that yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we saw them, but they were a little more basic. And I mean, Larry and I remember we got off the bus once we hit to Hermosa.
Yeah.
We had to get back and rest up for the big night in Torrance with that night, not what we're seeing here. This was our first stop on the tour, right? On our tour, Mel, right?
Yeah, Melanie. So talk to me about you putting all this together and taking us, to these locations.
Yeah, it was to promote my first hunt, which celebrated the 30th anniversary as well. And we hit upon the locations you mentioned. It was great to visit there with you guys. And I had actually been selling a tour on the website that kind of listed out all the locations, a map, some bonus stuff, and, did the hunt. And since then, I've had a couple more hunts and would love to do more with the locations in the future. So, we were supposed to have another locations trip. Didn't happen, but hopefully sometime after the first of the year. Yes.
And here, we surprised our buddy Darren Martin. I remember I was talking to Darren Martin on Facebook maybe a week or so beforehand. And I said, who is somebody that you always wanted to meet, a guest star? And he pointed out Jennifer Grant. And so we made that moment happen for him. Celeste. This was the start, though, of the kind of surprise special guests that we were getting to do on the show, right, Larry?
The pop-ins, yeah. This was really cool because Darren, who was also known as the 90210 Bro, really had carried the torch for the show through the dark years with a couple of other people, and we really wanted to honor him, and we love Darren, and he's in lockdown in New Brunswick. I just read, like they're still having the COVID there.
Wow.
I mean, I love Darren. Listen, we have to be real and keep it honest. When we started this podcast, literally from day one, when it wasn't even a podcast. It was like an experimental, we're going to go live and talk about 90210. Darren was the one who plugged it and got everybody to come to our world. So, and Lily obviously as well, but Darren was the one that really put us on the map and really introduced us to Ian well, you guys already knew them.
Well, he was recognized by the cast as the keeper of the code. We had and he still is. So that was important to us, and plus he's a friend of Chuck and mine.
Yes.
So that was real, and yours now too.
I would say, and now as me as well. I mean, he's just a great guy. He's one of the nicest guys, and he's a very humble guy. He does not ask for very much. He just loves the show, and he's been a supporter of it. And so doing this with Jennifer, I thought was really, really awesome. Here's another one.
Sarah Melson.
Yeah, here's our buddy Sarah Melson, aka Allison Lash, doing her video. I mean, how cool was it to see some of these characters where they were now, Charles?
It was fun, and we gave them some ideas what to do. They came up with their own ideas. One of the things I was thinking, especially looking at Jennifer Grant, I knew I had kept up a relationship with Sarah and that we had some people in common, but I didn't know what Doug Emerson felt about our show. Would Doug Emerson ever do this or not? Would Jennifer Grant ever do this? I wasn't there. Denise.
She did pop on. Okay.
I mean, the stars just kept coming in this show.
But we know, Melanie, she didn't. What had happened? What had happened was we tried so badly to get Denise. This was, I know for you, Chuck. I know at one point during the show, you texted me or wrote in the private chat, "Lose Denise Dowse," because we just
yes, I remember that.
We kept trying so badly to get her connected, but it was not happening for poor
You
Denise.
gotta know when to hold them. Know when to fold them.
But then we did do this awesome moment with Jenny O'Hara. I don't know if that's going to happen here. Maybe not in this clip, but let's see what else we have here. Just moving along here and seeing what other things that we have.
We got Jenny O'Hara the same way we got Josh.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah. This is Denise Dowse. We couldn't hear anything. You were in the show. Talk to me about what that experience was like for you.
Well, goodness. I mean, I've been so lucky to do so many jobs and do pilots and similar things. Certainly nothing of this magnitude, nothing to ever equal 90210, that's for sure. But I think initially, I first interviewed for the role of David Silver.
And this is, and poor Denise, was trying so badly to make this happen. It just was not happening. This is when Chuck was becoming. This is when Chuck is. Look, you can see Chuck is texting me right now in
the window.
Lose Denise Dowse now.
It's show business. It's a tough thing, guys. Sometimes you gotta, go on with the show. There's Jenny.
Oh, this is great. Look at that. Mom. I mean, this show just kicked ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she is a terrific actress.
Oh, yeah.
I would love for her to come back on and cover a couple of things with us.
And really is part of the, the Broadway community, much more so than the Hollywood TV community.
Hey, speaking of which, Alan Toy is going to be playing FDR in the NBC musical of Annie.
Yes, I'm so excited for our buddy Alan. He's just
very
awesome. Well, just proves the sun will come out tomorrow.
I love Annie. I'm going to watch it.
Me too.
That's awesome.
Here's our buddy Josh, and then Brian.
And there he is. Comes on with Matt Damon.
Brian just comes in with Mark. That's great.
Yeah, he didn't.
And we've said this time and time again, Larry and I, watching all the shows. You look at people, and you see the performances again. And Mark Damon Espinosa, we did not appreciate how much you locked in while you were doing it. Oh, here's our friend Zach.
We love Zach in Vegas.
I remember
his character. He's doing
Howard here after Zach had done that, which you wrote for him, Larry, right? That he was in working at MTV and all this stuff. We had, because it was so busy, getting all this stuff together. So I didn't really get a chance to write back Zach and say, "Man, that was really great." And so a couple of days went by, and he wrote, "Was that really bad? Did I offend somebody?" And I was like, "No, it was great. I just put it in the file, that's done, the done folder." So, and then of course you guys went and met from this.
Yeah, we hung out with Zach, and I've seen, I keep up with him, and he just was on our show
Yeah.
He did something for America's Zip Code. He did a shout out for that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I just hadn't been back to Vegas. I'd be saying hi, hello. He's a nice guy, fun to be with, and a nice guy too. And the connection, I didn't know the connection with Jamie Walters.
Oh yeah, part of Jamie's band.
Oh,
Here's our buddy
Zara.
Zara. We miss Sarah.
Oh,
we get
we miss
Sarah
Sarah,
on our show.
So
yeah.
did Sarah go because I offended him? Is that did I offend Sarah?
No, I don't think so. Zara is still a part of the community. We see Zara looking all the time. We have to just find a spot to bring Zara back onto the show. Maybe we'll do that sooner than later because
she's got her whole Vanessa thing going on.
What's that?
She's got her whole Vanessa thing. She does a lot with Vanessa right now, right? Vanessa
Marcel. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's great. And
she's so cute.
I was going to say, and I knew that we wanted to do something really sweet for Zara because she had been watching our show for so long that we had this opportunity with Dana, another person that the fans had not seen in quite some time.
Right.
So, and Dana, another one that had some internet problems. I don't know if you remember that, Melanie.
Which she always does, and it surprises me because she's, a modern person, and she's someone who's very charitable, very giving. In fact, the first time I saw her post-show, it was at something for homeless children. Mm. That was a camp that my kids are involved with, and I'm kind of involved with. They're the All-Stars.
But Chuck, I remember this segment, guys.
This was the All-Stars, and Bethany Rooney wasn't there. She was supposed to be the fifth one. The people who had come on our show who really made our show work. That's Chip, the amazing writer, David, the director, who was our AP, Hank, Emmy-winning. It just won his Emmy, in fact.
I feel like you're saying the same thing.
And then our friend Michael Cudlitz. So it was a really great group.
It was an awesome group. And I know that was the one segment that we ran, was a little bit long. I think that's sort of what replaced the fan thing that we were going to do. This was like, well, now we got these guys, so we're going to just move that on. And there's our buddy Jamie Walters.
He is so nice.
This was so great to have him, to bring him, to have him in the community, and as an important part for us. And that was for me a highlight. Now, obviously, he's going to sing us by himself a little bit here.
But what you said to Larry about tracking him down, we had started that process of trying to track Jamie down, and it was not an easy process. And I remember I text Christina Leese and was like, "Do you know where Jamie is?" And she was like, "No." You know what I mean? Like, so there was we just were not finding the right way to connect. And then I was just like, I'm just going to call the people that did the reboot. They'll probably know where he is. And I forget who was over there, but they helped connect us. And Jamie's been really great. He's been with us a few times since, like you mentioned, and I'm sure he'll be with us again one day. But we did a really awesome episode, The Peach Pit After Dark Music.
Yes.
And I thought Jamie was really great on that. Let's see.
Yeah. That whole episode was awesome. I loved the Flaming Lips and Bare Naked Ladies.
Hold on.
That was cool.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's listen to this. Yes, get that guitar.
I'm getting chills now. We were so relieved. We were so excited to see this the first time.
This is the highlight for me.
Believe the gift. Yeah.
Well, what was funny is I
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I kept on seeing the question pop up. Will he sing? Will he sing? And I didn't want to ask him.
I don't want to see you ever sad, and everything I've got you can have.
I love this.
So will you take my hands and feel how close I am? 'Cause there ain't nothing I won't do for you. Hold on till you feel a little stronger. Hold on to me. Hold on, everything's gonna be alright. Just hold on to me tonight.
Yeah, it was really cool. I didn't want to be the one to ask him, but hey, I mean, guys, we got a concert for 3 there. Me, you, and Larry, right? I mean, it was a private Jamie Walters concert, so that was just for a few.
It was just such a huge relief for us that he wanted to be part of the community, that we hadn't so badly burned him. You know, I always say sometimes you have to serve the show. Well, he served the show and he paid a price for it, as we all know. But he still wanted it back in, and he still had fond memories of it, and that was really special.
Well, and then, but him, you know, playing the song, and then finally someone asked it. I was like, I was so nervous, as you mentioned, but I was like, Chuck, you know, at the top, but I was like, I'm going to ask him, because somebody finally asked it, and I was like, let's just see how this one plays out. And then he grabbed the guitar, and it was really awesome.
That was a top tier moment for me.
But then you follow it up with Roy Randolph.
I know, telling us where he is now. I mean, you know, and we threw some Brenda clues in there and stuff with him and Brenda. Oh yeah, he's been great. Jason Carter. You know, I'm hoping to visit him in New Orleans. I got some Delta miles I got to use.
Yeah, I can go get lunch with him and Caitlin.
Oh yeah, well, Caitlin's gonna have. She said that she's gonna do a crawfish boil for me.
Ooh,
I got my wife to do that. Yeah, her husband does.
Don't forget to invite Diane. You don't know her that well, but she's great.
I've met her. Yeah, Josh Taylor. There we go.
Well, I was going to say this is when the show started to get touching. We had also done, and I didn't put it in here, but we had done a tribute to Aaron Spelling. We did a tribute to Steve Wasserman, and we also did a tribute to Paul Wagner. Right, so there was those 3, and then we started to kind of like.
That's right. We had Betty on the show, and who did we have on for the tribute for Mr. Spelling?
Danielle.
Oh, that's right.
It was a pre-record.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then of course there was this. You know, we had secured or found Josh Taylor, who's been back on the show a few times. So, but this was really lovely.
Oh, look at Lily!
We got Lily. I got Lily in. The only way I could get Lily in was through comments, and I tried to play all of her comments, but yeah, it was not easy doing all this. And this was some touching stuff, you know. I mean, what he was talking about and talking about Luke. So, yeah. And then, Larry, you tracked down Noli Thorne.
Oh, yeah. Noli Thorne. Oh, my gosh.
This background is so nice.
Look, I know. She lives a wonderful life, I think. And she's just, lovely. She was a child actress who now is a woman.
Yeah, that's a lovely Orange County house there, right?
Oh,
but let me say that she was so lovely and so wonderful. Once we found her, which was another one that we knew that was going to, make everybody so excited, because nobody had another person that they had not seen in years, and she was just so wonderful, and she's just so stunning, isn't she? I mean, look at her.
Yeah. Right. And then she came back on our show too, right?
Yeah, she did hazardous. She did hazardous to our health, I think, or with James Whitmore, we reunited her.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, and I did something on Patreon with her where we watched an episode or 2 together, and we had some fun just laughing at the show and her parts on the show and some of the things that she went through. So she's just
laughing at the show. What made you crack up, Pete? Well, it was fucking funny.
Being reminded of, like, doing stuff with Shannon, like they did a ride together and all this kind of cute stuff. So
okay.
Yeah,
right.
We were not mocking the show in any way.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't participate in that stuff.
As an actress, she had a wonderful vulnerability, really a very quirky kind of quality that just was very endearing. I mean, people really, really liked her. Yeah, we tracked her down through her husband, who was a lawyer. I kind of found her married name and kind of used LinkedIn.
Yeah, it was great. She's just
Larry, I'm convinced in another life you were a private dick. You could have been, the rival of the American rival of Sherlock Holmes or something. You never know.
It's a challenge. It's a puzzle.
Guys, it was. I'll add the Luke tribute at the end of this, but and we don't have to watch it, but it was a 3.5 hour show that we had done that day. We were sitting in our chairs. I mean, on this last America's Zip Code, Charles had the smarts to say, like, at some point you guys will take a break, and at some point I will take a break, because we didn't even think that through on the first one of these things.
Yeah,
I noticed
that was your sister's comment, wasn't it, Chuck? After the show, she said, "I don't know how you guys sat there for so long."
and I just saw one that I'm empty. I'm not in the frame, so Let's see. Where was I?
Hey, Pete, I want to read some of these notes we got back after the show from some of the people who did it. So here's Chip Johannesson. Really amazing what you guys put together. Jason Priestley, was really nice to see everyone Sunday night. Still can't believe it's been 30 years. And Carol Potter, Pete, so glad to have been part of this. Alan Toy, fun show. Gabriel Coteras, thank you, Pete. It was wonderful seeing everyone. Jessica Klein, thanks so much. Great job. See you soon. And we hope Jessica's well.
She'll be with us back again.
Always,
soon.
we missed you. Get on the show again, Jess. Come on.
Yeah. It was touching, and Jamie Walters wrote me a private message after the Super Deluxe show, and he said he's so thankful to be reunited with everybody, you know, that I've been able to, he said me, that put everybody together and reconnect him with so many people, and it's done so much for him to have that all these years later. So there's been so many nice little things that came from the Super Show, and it branched out into us doing episodes with some of the people. We had Jennifer Grant. We did eventually have, like you said, Denise Dowse and Noli Thornton did some stuff, and Douglas Emerson came back. I mean, Josh Taylor came back. So everybody came back and did more stuff with us. So it was really great to see. I mean, looking back on, I know we look back on so many things. Does it still hold up? Super Show? No.
The
Looking
Super
back,
Show, just the volume of stars we kept throwing, and the reunions and the smiles on people's faces, and just the warmth and the love. That was a big success.
And the stuff that happened with I forgot about that part of it, that we had the guest stars about what they were doing so many years later, and we wrote some of stuff for them, and they came up with some interesting stuff. It was good.
the other beat that we almost lost, or was this: we had press. We had like 5 different press people come on, and Christina Lease joined them. And that was almost something that we cut as well, because we were really trying to figure out where we were going to get all this extra time. But so sorry to all the people that we did cut, but we've done a lot of fan-centric things since, and I think we've tried to make up for that moment. And so guys, don't forget, this was great watching the Super Show. Again, so many great memories of putting all that together. I remember one time, I want to share one story, that at one point it was really hectic. We didn't know who was going to be on, and we were on a Zoom, and Chuck was having a problem connecting to the Zoom, and me, Melanie, and Larry were talking on the Zoom, and we were like, we don't know how we're going to schedule this. There's so many clips. Remember, there were so many clips, and Chuck heard us, all of us talking. He was like, I heard you. I heard everything you guys just said. And then we had to explain what we meant, but it was so much fun putting that together. I remember I would say to Melanie, I feel like we were back in 1990 something, you know what I mean? And we were making 90210, but
right. Well, that's right. It's amazing that the Super Show was as good as it was, given that we cut out all the clips.
Yeah,
because clips make a show. We know that.
We do all know that.
Clips. How can you do anything?
But I want to just remind everybody again, this is the end of our show this week. We really want you guys to be a part of Story Slam. It's something that we've been really putting together, and I have to tell you, the scripts are really amazing. So the lines aren't all that complicated. You're not going to struggle. You can read from your script if you need to. You can have it on your whatever.
It's a radio play.
It's a radio play, so don't be stressing out. We want to hear from all of you. Peter at BeverlyHills90210show.com, and we will send you what you have to read, and then you can come on next week to the open call and audition for some of the parts that Chuck mentioned earlier. So any last minute notes on that, Larry or Charles, on what you want out of the Story Slam auditions?
Well, I think, you'll have your line. You'll be able to read it right from the page, because during the performance, you'll have the script also. But most of the things are 1 or 2 lines, and you just want to give it a good shot. The people in the casting room might ask you to do it again with some notes how to do it. And it's just all part of the fun. You'll get a chance of what it's like to be an actor and having to be in a call and stuff, and all the nerves that go with it. And everyone should enjoy it, though, because we're just here for fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
I want to mention that we will not be recording the Story Slam itself live. So the audition is live, but then you will have time to record your segment privately. You know what I mean? So it's not going to be something that you're going to have to perform live. You will audition live, but the Story Slam itself will be pre-taped. So the
fishing, we can control the finished product then, and it's going to be really good, and everyone will be proud of it.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, guys, this has been another great week as we continue the Festival of Fans.
Festival of Fans, week 2.
Very festive.
And then we'll get back to doing some deep dives and other fun stuff in November. So, all right, guys, this has been great. We will see everybody next week for the live open